Yeah, started hearing about AI and realizing, okay, this is going to be a thing, and I need to figure out how I can use it to either grow my career or figure out what I want to do next. And how I look at it, at least, is how can this new tool, this really cool new tool, help me solve problems? What can I do faster? What can I do better? And what problems do I have that I want to solve with it? And then hopefully that translates into solving problems for others, because I'm sure someone else has that same problem.
All right, we're back. I'm here with my boy Dan. Just to kind of give you guys some context, LinkedIn is real. We connected a few years ago when I was at the creative recruiting firm, which sadly no longer exists anymore. It was called Wonderland. Amazing people. I was recruiting for UX UI, graphic design, the whole creative spectrum. And I connected with Dan on LinkedIn because I'm pretty sure there was a role that I know you look good for. But now we reconnected, and I wanted to reach out to you specifically because I know AI is huge. And it looks like from your profile and what you have going on, Dan, that you're really involved with it. I know you have a few projects which we chatted about, which I'm excited to hear about. So to start this conversation, well, give the people a little bit about your background and what you're doing now, and then I'll hop into it.
Sure, yeah. So, my background, I actually taught English as a second language in South Korea for about 15 years. Opened a bar while I was there as well, had that for a couple of years. And then when I moved back to the States, it was almost 7 years ago now. Took a job in education, just saw that there was a ceiling, no room for growth. So I was looking for a new career path, and that's when I found UX. So since then, unfortunately, I got laid off from two UX jobs in 2023. But that's when I sort of was getting really motivated to find my own thing and kind of forge my own lane, figure out what I really want to do, and not rely on a company for income and healthcare and all that stuff. So, yeah, started hearing about AI and realizing, okay, this is going to be a thing, and I need to figure out how I can use it to either grow my career or figure out what I want to do next. And the thing that actually was the coolest for me, or what I found to be the coolest, was I found something called Starter Story, who actually just announced today he got acquired by HubSpot. And they have an AI boot camp, and they teach you how to build a web app using Lovable. And that was less than a year ago. I think it was in April of last year. And since then, I've just sort of been all in, and like realizing how you can use AI for different things. And yeah, just been learning as much as I can and building and learning while building, which has been the coolest part.
So Dan, let's take a step back, and if I could be transparent with the audience that are watching on YouTube and they're listening on Apple or Spotify. Brother, you just said that you were in like Japan, right? You had a
Korea.
bar that you had. So you're about that entrepreneur life.
Yes.
So there's nothing that being a owner or manager or operator of something like that you haven't seen. Ob- Objections like revenue, like insurance and stuff like that. So how I'm tying that in, if I could be real with the audience, Dan was like, man, I don't know if I can add value. I'm like, Dan, I'm like, brother, I don't know you like that. I know we reconnected, but by you just sharing with me that experience alone overqualifies you to talk about adversity, overcoming adversity, people skills. And those skills like that are very, um, valuable, if you will, right? So I think this brings a lot of value to the listeners on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on Apple, Spotify. That's amazing. I don't want to breeze past that. That's amazing. And then for sure. So I hope you didn't mind me sharing that, but it's like I've gone through it. I'm pretty sure the audience, they have gone through it. And I've had other leaders share that with me. I don't know if this is the right move, but I would just say to everyone, including myself, do it scared. You know,
Mhm.
like who's gonna go out of the States have, that what? No, not a lot of people. But so you're chosen. So I just wanted to give you some love on that and highlight that for everyone that's listening. But so tell me, I know we kind of chopped it up a little bit before. AI is here. It's not going anywhere, right? Like I've been playing around with Claude, with ChatGPT for the last year, and I'm so intrigued. That's why I created this platform. Is to create. I honestly believe we're all called to create. Like you have a teaching background, and you're a creator, right? You're an entrepreneur. So tell me how leaders should be really looking at the demand for AI, and how should we fundamentally be looking at this. I want to take a pause for a second and talk about your confidence, right? You got the experience, the results, the credibility, but when it comes to putting your voice out there, fear creeps in. Who am I to do this? Does that sound familiar? That's imposter syndrome, and it's keeping you small. My coaching is about breaking through that, helping you turn your expertise into content, conversation, and coaching that builds real influence in your industry. So if you're done hiding behind titles and ready to lead with your story, head over to connectingwithcreatives.com/coaching and let's get started. I'll see you soon.
With anything really, I mean, not even just related to AI, it's problem solving. So just to take it back to the bar, it was me and three friends that decided to open the bar. And the reason why we did was in the city we lived in, there was a lot of expats, a lot of teachers, and there were bars that catered to that community, but there wasn't a sports bar. So there was no expat bar that you can go to, get cheeseburgers, poutine, chicken tenders, and have TVs all around and watch the sports that you want to watch. So I think it's the same thing with AI. So how I look at least is how can this new tool, this really cool new tool, help me solve problems? What can I do faster? What can I do better? And what problems do I have that I want to solve with it? And then hopefully that translates into solving problems for others because I'm sure someone else has that same problem.
Love that so much. So with that being said, like we know it's a tool to be more efficient, to automate a lot of stuff. But recent updates with the Claude bot and all this different stuff is what I was hoping for that AI was going to be, right? Like just me working the 9 to 5, but I'm an intra entrepreneur that I'm never going to stop that. And I know we're similar in that vein. Like, bro, like I get having a job is cool and all, but I want freedom on my terms to be able to be with my family and travel and do those things and make
Mhm.
however much revenue I want, right?
Yes,
So
exactly. Yeah.
that's what I want. So what are you like, what are companies or what are leaders getting wrong about AI in general?
I think what leaders and people in general are getting wrong is that it can be a replacement for people, or I don't want to say other things, but there still has to be human touch involved. So if you look at it from the perspective of, okay, instead of, I think even if you use it to do something for you, you should still take a look at the output, see what it's done. Because I think we're at a stage now where by doing that, we're training the models, we're teaching it how to do things better. So at this stage, in my opinion, and I'm not an expert, I still think we're in a stage where you can use it as a tool to increase efficiency, do things faster, but I wouldn't replace anything quite yet with it because I think it's still learning. And the more you use it and the more you train it on what you want it to do, the better it gets.
So then this is a for me, right? I'm a natural coach, right? I trained athletes for years, 15 plus years, and this is who I am. So when you say you're not an expert, what do you mean by that? Because from my definition, you're an expert. You're overqualified to teach on this. You're a literal teacher,
Sure.
and you literally have experience in working in with contracts with different companies. So that to me, sir, is why we're talking right now, and you're an expert. So that's just a little moment I wanted to kind of really put a pin in because, bro, you got a lot to bring to the table. All right,
Well, thank you.
so
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah.
absolutely, I'm not gassing you up, man. This is real. So just saying that, what do you look at in at a company's like how can a company benefit from a revenue standpoint from AI? Because I know there's cracks in there. So what can it do to kind of mitigate that?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. It really depends on the company. So, just sort of the first thing that comes to mind is my last full time job that I had. I was working at a company that's an online wholesaler for used cars for used car dealers, and I was a buyer representative, so I had a book of buyers, and I would call them and try and help them grow their business. They would call me with issues that they would have. And what really struck me was the lack of the use of AI at this time. And then they tried to implement, and I don't even remember the name of the platform, but it was kind of a new tool, and they tried to implement it. And there were so many issues with it that it actually cost us time. So it was supposed to be a tool to make it would listen to your calls, and it was supposed to give you notes on your calls and give you an action plan for what you should do next. But there were so many mistakes, so many issues with it that you had to listen to your call again and then take your own notes again, and it just became even less efficient. So I think you just have to look at what you're trying to do, where you think you lack efficiency or what's taking you the most time, the most repetitive task. Like right now, I think it's good for automating repetitive tasks that take a lot of time. So I would look for the small wins first before kind of thinking about where can I make this grand implementation of a system, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to sales and marketing, right? Like, can you give an audience a real world scenario to where how we can utilize like AI?
So speaking to that tool that I was mentioning before, if it worked well, I thought, oh, this is going to be great. This is really going to help me out. So when I'm on a call with a customer, one of my buyers, I prefer to be focused and pay attention and listen. So what I would like to listen for when I'm on a call is those verbal cues that maybe AI can't pick up, right? So maybe they say something, but their intonation actually tells me something else. So those are the things that I can pick up as a human being. But I don't want to have to be typing notes while I'm doing that because then I might miss those cues. So if it can actually just, record and transcribe that call for me and then say, here are the higher level notes. And then maybe at that point, I want to take a look at those notes and then figure out what I can do next to be a better buyer rep or help that customer's business grow. So that's kind of where I see it as far as sales and marketing goes.
Gotcha. So essentially, what you're saying is for a sales team, sales and marketing team, sales specifically, that it can increase revenue because the sales rep has the tools to be more efficient to focus in on the conversation with the client, right? And then like from a higher, you know, lens, like they're getting that feedback so they know if they didn't close on that call, the next call, what to go into. Like, is that essentially what you're saying?
Yeah, so you're the human being, so you need that human touch. You have to develop rapport with a customer, that sort of thing. I would like AI to transcribe so I don't have to take those notes,
Mhm.
right? Then maybe what it can do also is like find services or products that you have that are tied to that call. So I don't have to think about that as much. It can go and do that research and say, okay, this person mentioned this pain point. Here's a product that we have that solves that for them. And then you can present that. And your job would be to listen for what they're not saying, sort of by their intonation, the way they're speaking, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Those hidden objections, huh?
Exactly, exactly.
For sure. So let's shift gears a little bit because I know marketing, UX, UI background, right? Especially being a business owner, like are funnels dead or can businesses still generate revenue, awareness, and positioning with funnels?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that funnels are dead. I would also say that's probably not an area of expertise for me. I know you might tell me otherwise, but no, definitely I think funnels are important. I actually just speaking of happened to have just read a book recently about, the power of email, and it's still extremely powerful and can generate revenue for you. So just based on my limited experience with that, I would say no, definitely funnels are not dead.
For sure. And I know that was a loaded question, right? Because I know from personally working with funnels and email lists and things of that nature and working with clients that have, 500K, 250 plus, K emails that is powerful. Right. And like you said, like it's the warmest leads that you can have. Maybe you have to do a drip campaign to wake them up, nurture them a little bit to let you know like what's going on. But I think the email, marketing is so under utilized and highlighted from a marketing standpoint. People wanna see the social proof. They wanna see social media, and they think that, that's like maybe like that's an ego, I think, at times, like marketing, you wanna see yourself get the clicks and stuff like that. But the real business, especially if you guys have an email list, if you companies, business owners, you have a substantial, email list, you can really generate revenue from there. But with AI, we're talking about, AI vibe coding is a thing, and I know we'll touch on that. Man, it's unlocking a new pathway for me with the possibilities of generating revenue and awareness and positioning with vibe coding. If you're adding that to your funnel, so what should like leaders or people in general, how should they be looking at integrating AI in ads or funnels?
As far as integrating AI into ads or funnels, that's a good question. I, I would be a little bit cautionary with that at this point because as far as ads, email marketing, that sort of thing, I think even social media, I think the real power is storytelling,
Mhm,
telling a good story. So I'm not sure that you want a lot of people use ChatGPT to write things, right? And I do too. Absolutely, guilty as charged. Like everyone does. But you still, again, I talked about the human touch before, and you want to tell a compelling story. And I don't think at this point AI can tell a compelling story.
I honestly think like, yeah, I use it every day, literally every day for everything. The message I sent you was, like I'm gonna be real, but like you said, adding that human touch to it, like obviously you got to proofread it, right? But you got to be a better prompter. I think, was it Dan Martell said, like you just have to be a better director. Like Gary Vee said something to that effect too. The ones that can prompt and direct in the tool will be the future million and billionaires, right? That's the key, right? You as an English
Great
teacher,
point.
like, get your thoughts together, frame it. No, I love it. I love it. But like you said, you do need that human touch for sure.
So you mentioned prompting. So I think that's why I like vibe coding so much now. Is yes, I get to build web apps and it's fun, but I can see improvement in my prompting. So what I would recommend for people to do is pick a tool. There's a million of them now. But in not that you even want to build something that you're going to try and scale and get revenue from, but just build it to see how prompting works. Improve your prompting skill, and you'll notice over time. Okay, that didn't work. Keep track of your prompts and then see what works the next time. And so that's a skill that I think is kind of important for most people to start learning now. Like you really should.
And it translates into real world interaction. Like you need to have, the goal of it, the agenda, you really have to have that framework when prompting, right? I'm still getting better at it, and I can see myself like, oh, okay, I need to ask more detailed questions. I really need to think this through. And my over the past year and a half that I've been, with experimenting, I've gotten better in questions that I ask the tool, and it's giving me feedback that I want. So I'm definitely learning and growing. So for long-term growth, let's go on to your UX UI side of your experience. Like, how could building a brand, because I see you've been doing your thing on LinkedIn, and I'm like, okay, Dan is showing up. Okay, cool, let's go. And then I went down that rabbit hole. I said, hey, like I say UX UI, I seen Dan, okay, cool. And then I start to see you show up in different ways on LinkedIn, commenting, like interactions. I'm looking at your posting. To me, right? I'm like, Dan is the man. Dan is talking about this more. So long term, how can, building a personal brand like affect business in general if you are trying to position yourself as an authority in that space or industry?
Hmm. Yeah, I think building a personal brand kind of gives you credibility, right? So there's consistency in branding as far as the way you present yourself. It gives you that sort of authority. People will see you as an authority. Um, so yeah, I think that's the importance of personal branding. And if you're talking about the same topic and you can have varied opinions, then yeah, it gives you credibility, right? So one thing that I tried last year, I think it was, I found networking to be extremely important. That's how I found both my jobs in UX design. And so when I was at my last job in UX, I was like, okay, this is a thing that I think is super important for people it's a skill really to learn. So I wrote a guide on networking that I sell on Amazon, and then started a YouTube channel about it, and then started trying to sell an online course as well. I've since moved away from that, but the idea is the more you do something, the more you present that, you become the authority. And just kind of to tie that back to vibe coding again, that's something you said earlier, sparked something was as far as prompting goes. I think that also helps you in communicating in real life because you have to be clear and direct and in what you're communicating to AI when you're building something. So sorry for going off on that little
No, no,
tangent
good,
there.
good, brother. This is I said it's gonna flow. Um, so speaking of vibe coding, right? Just shifting gears, like how did we get to manifest loop? Like that's your baby, that's your project. How did we get there?
So when I learned to vibe code, so I went through like an AI vibe coding boot camp with Starter Story, like I mentioned. I was just kind of building what I wanted to. Like I had an idea, so I'd build it. So the very first thing that I tried was called F Around to Find Out. It's a daily trivia game. Yeah, you answer three trivia questions correctly, and it reveals a weird wonder. Um, I've done another one called RateMySurfPic.com. I love surfing, and I thought it'd be cool to have a site where you can upload your surf pic, have other surfers rate it, and then you win Wave of the Week, and I would send you a hat and a sticker and a T-shirt. Um, so yeah, and I've built a whole bunch of other stuff. So just sort of, it was whatever I wanted to build, right? Wasn't getting a lot of traction. So I thought, okay, what you need to do is go find signal first, find what people are looking for before you build. So that's how I got to Manifest Loop was I actually got into meditation and manifestation as well. As much as I didn't want to be on TikTok and kind of get stuck in there, if you will, I went onto TikTok, then researched comments, screenshotted comments, tracked all that kind of stuff, and found that there is a signal for people asking, "How do you do it?" Which isn't what Manifest Loop does, but what tool do you use? Is there an app for that? Researched other apps that are doing it, and then wanted to build something that was super simple, where you could record your own manifestation, so it's your own voice, and then you can loop it. Super simple. Of course, I have ideas for future features, but I'm just going to stick with the basics for now, and then go from there. And then
Dan,
ask users what they actually want.
Dan, you're sitting on something like great. What you did was boom, you seen if there was a demand. Okay, it is.
Mhm.
This is what they're so you did your own research. So now, like you're gonna stay in this pocket, you're gonna still push it. How long are you giving yourself to see like some type of traction and what metrics are you using to base success?
Yeah, so I have my own personal goals for it. As far as what I'd like to see happen with it, time is the good one. So that I actually like that question a lot because with the other ones, I didn't really think about that too much and just sort of was like, okay, I'm kind of done with that already. It was fun to build. I learned by building. So this one, I'm gonna give it 6 months. What I did for sort of my soft launch was I actually created 7 videos and then I released them, one per day on TikTok. Interestingly, the first video got the most views and the, the views declined steadily with each one. But they were all sort of similar, so I know what doesn't work. And so now I'll create 7 more videos and try that again. So that's kind of the plan for that. And then in the meantime, though, I'm also doing another round of sort of research, and this time I'm looking for pain points to solve to build a micro SaaS, like just one very simple tool that either saves you time or saves you money. So I have Manifest Loop where I'm going to try and promote that as much as possible, but in the meantime, start doing research for another pain point and actually build something that is a pill and not so much a vitamin.
Gotcha. So will that to generate leads, like a lead magnet to Manifest Loop?
No, so that'll be completely separate, and I have no idea what it's going to be yet.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Definitely, man, you definitely got to keep me posted on that. I would love to hear more, and I appreciate you coming on. Is there anything, as we land the plane, is there anything else that you would like to share? I know you wrote a book, right?
Sure. Yeah, the book. So I actually originally wrote it in 2012 for a course I took for my master's degree. And it's called Four Corners, and it's about a road trip I took in 2011 where I bought a Harley and I rode to the four corners of the contiguous US. It took me 3 months. I rode about 15,000 miles. I kept a blog at the time, like on the trip, and turned that into a book. And so the way I actually ended up, it was something that I sort of shelved and always wanted to get back to. But I got into vibe coding, and then I started learning about ChatGPT, and you can create your own custom GPT. And so I actually put down everything I was building as far as web apps and then created my own custom GPT to be my own book editor. I was like,
Love it.
let's see how this works.
Yep.
So yes, so I actually revised it last fall and published it November 15th. And then I built a website for it. Of course, I had to. And on that website is a question that asks how many miles in total I did on the trip, which is in the book. And then it unlocks a photo album of the trip.
That's dope, man. That is so dope. I got to check it out. I want to check that out. So let's land the plane with this. Like, let's give because in this AI just boom right now, like give me three practical steps that, if a leader in their organization was thinking about it, what are some practical steps that they could take to integrate it within their teams?
I think number one, I might ask my teams where they're at with it. Have they done any research? If so, is there something you want to learn? And then give them the freedom or opportunity to learn something, to learn how to vibe code, learn how to build a tool. I think you have these assets with your team where you don't have to hire someone else. Maybe someone's really interested in it and they want to learn how to do it and they can build something for you. So that's something I would suggest. Two, I would say try vibe coding yourself. Like I said, I think it's just a good practice to get into, just to learn how to prompt. And I think it helps with communication as well. And number three, just kind of be open to what's out there. And I would say a lot of people have a tendency to want to resist it. Be open to it and understand how you can use it best for either you or your company.
Love that. Well, Dan, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a great connecting with you. No pun intended. But I'm excited what Manifest Loop is going to do and the other projects and platforms you create because a year from now we'll have a different conversation. Like, hey, AJ is really taking off because like you stayed the course. I want to see that content too. You got to send me your TikTok, and I'm gonna keep you accountable, man, for sure.
Cool. Well, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It was a great conversation. And like I said, I was honored that you asked.
Oh, absolutely.